This episode of Fluid Power Forum is sponsored by IFPE Motion Solutions Incorporated, the leader at engineering electronics into fluid power distribution. IFPE spans the 13 central states from Minnesota to Texas. For more information, visit ifpeusa.com.
And if you're an OEM and you wanted your own specific, unique seated valve, we could do a custom interface mounting to make that a very unique to that particular OEM.
Welcome to Fluid Power Forum, a podcast of the National Fluid Power Association. I'm your host, Eric Lenke, and it's my job to interview interesting people who are moving fluid power technology forward. If you'd like to be part of our show, we ask that you follow us on Twitter. You can find us there at the NFPA. And make sure to share interesting and innovative uses of fluid power with our hashtag #OnlyFluidPowerCan. That is one of the ways that we source topics for our show. If you see an interesting application of fluid power and you want to learn more about it, you can share it on social media with that hashtag #OnlyFluidPowerCan. And you just might hear it discussed on a future episode of Fluid Power Forum. Also, please subscribe to our show. You can find us on Apple Podcasts. We're on Spotify. We're on a lot of the other podcatching services. Wherever you find us, go ahead and subscribe, and then also give us a quick rating. Those ratings really do help promote the show and help more and more of our friends in the industry join in on these important conversations. On today's show, our guest is d.hite. Doug is the Application Engineering Supervisor for HAWE North America, a manufacturer of hydraulic power units, pumps, valves, and cylinders. And HAWE will be showcasing their water-resistant hydraulics that help deliver power to multiple applications, including speedboats, at IFPE, the International Fluid Power Exposition. And so we invited Doug into our forum today to learn more about those applications and the fluid power products that make them possible. So Doug, welcome to Fluid Power Forum.
Well, thank you for having me.
We're glad to have you on the show. I told the listeners a little bit about what you do for HAWE, but I'm hoping you can give us a better introduction. Tell us more about yourself. How'd you find your way into your current position there at HAWE?
Well, I've been with HAWE for over 15 years. And I guess to begin with, I've got a mechanical engineering degree from Purdue University with more than 35 years product experience in the fluid power industry under my belt.
Did you have a lot of fluid power in your mechanical engineering program back in the day at Purdue, or how did you first come into fluid power?
Not so much from college. It was more of a college of hard knocks. Doing on the floor and learning what you need to.
So when was your first exposure to it? What was it, a position in a company somewhere?
Well, actually, my first position involving fluid power would have been a truck mechanic, where we installed snow plows and body hoists and this sort of thing.
Sure, yeah. And so it was a real hands-on introduction, it sounds like.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Very much hands-on.
And so tell us then a little bit more about HAWE, your current employer. What kind of company is it? What does it do?
Well, HAWE is a family company. It's headquartered in Munich, Germany. Mm-hmm. Currently, there's 23 subsidiaries located throughout the world. We are a leading manufacturer of technologically advanced, high-quality hydraulic components, and we provide tailored solutions for hydraulic equipment in the mobile, industrial, solar, wind, and oil field marketplaces.
That's a good list of marketplaces. It indicates and showcases again how versatile hydraulic technology can be. It finds its way into a lot of different places.
It certainly does.
And I know one of the things that we want to talk about on the show today are some of the products that HAWE is going to be exhibiting at IFPE, the International Fluid Power Exposition, especially those that I think are being branded as water-resistant hydraulics. Can you tell us a little bit more about some of those products and what makes them unique?
Yes, I will. We've got many products that they'll be showcasing. Those include our PSL valves, some PSL can valves, our axial piston pumps. We build hydraulic power packs, mobile controllers, as well of several of sort of compact miniature hydraulic assemblies. You might want to check out our latest products. One is named HYCON, and the other is a ROLV, or ROLV valve.
Okay.
The HYCON is our new compact power pack, and the ROLV is our new seated valve.
And what kind of applications would we likely see those products on?
The HYCON power pack offers protection against temporary immersion in water. It's perfect for speedboats, jet skis, agricultural and construction machinery, and other mobile applications that require a 12 or 24 volt DC power pack. HAWE's ROLV, or ROLV, directional control seated valve, is perfect for machine tools, clamping tools, and testing machinery, as well as other applications.
Mm-hmm. I'm curious, the water resistant part of that, obviously the speedboat application would be important to keep water out of the hydraulic system. But is that something that's of concern on some of those other applications that you described in the construction or ag machines?
Certainly can be. When you've got a piece of mobile equipment, it spends all of its time outside, unless it's being garaged. And during its time outside, there will certainly encounter rain, splash from the streets, uh, debris from concrete mixers, and all this kind of stuff. It'll be liquids that would make their way into the hydraulic system.
Mm-hmm.
With the HYCON power pack, we've got some resistance of integration of that fluid or water into the system.
I think we'll talk a little bit more about exactly how it does that, and actually how, the different subcomponents, if you will, that make up that HYCON power pack. But before we do that, Doug, we've reached the point in our show where I need to take just a short break because I want to tell our listeners a little bit more about that IFPE trade show that HAWE and others will be exhibiting at in just a few months. IFPE is the place where you'll learn everything you need to help your company stay at the forefront of the megatrends affecting your business and industry. From sensor technology and data analytics to robotics and automation, you will see the latest innovations in fluid power that will help your machines and application achieve your technology, performance, and business goals. Only at IFPE can you have those in-depth technical conversations that you need with other engineers and other executives to help spark new ideas. You can talk to suppliers about your specific challenges and the solutions that they offer. Or you can find new suppliers and new ways of doing things. You can also attend innovative education classes and sessions that cover the latest fluid power topics and industry trends, including some that are college level and provide professional development hours. No other trade show brings together as many sectors of the fluid power, power transmission, and motion control industries together in one place. And this event happens only once every 3 years in conjunction with ConExpo ConAg, the largest international gathering place for the construction industries. Our next IFPE show will be held March 14th through the 18th, 2023 in Las Vegas, Nevada. To learn more and to reserve your place, visit IFPE.com. All right, Doug, we're back from that break, and I said we wanted to talk a little bit more about the internal workings, if you will, of the products that you're discussing. Let's start with that HYCON power pack. If I understand it right, it's got both an electric motor and a gear pump in it, right?
Yes, the HYCON unit has a bidirectional motor. The bidirectional motor allows the system to be configured without a directional control valve. We also use a gear pump inside of the assembly with a brushless motor, so there's no brushes to wear out.
And what is the advantage of not having to rely on a directional control valve?
The big advantage is we only need to drive the motor either clockwise or counterclockwise.
Mm-hmm.
There's no directional valve required to control a single actuator. You can extend and retract or rotate in the right-hand direction and then left-hand direction if it was a motor, or extend and retract a hydraulic cylinder.
And you do that simply by controlling the direction of the brushless motor, it sounds like.
Exactly. Yes, we do. The other criteria that we looked at as far as designing this unit is we wanted to have the ability to be utilized in a water-prone area, say for outside use,
right,
in a splash zone kind of environment. So we've got the IP67 rating for the entire enclosure to make sure we don't have water ingression into the hydraulic reservoir.
And that's good for, I'm sorry, that's good, as you said, for protecting against splashing, but not submerging. You can't submerge the whole thing underwater?
It can be submerged for a short time,
okay,
but it's not intended to be mounted in an underwater location.
Right.
So it can be dipped in the water and taken back out, basically a splash type of a situation, but not for continuous use underwater.
So in some of those speedboat applications that we mentioned, what would this unit be powering? Is it the propeller or other pieces of the boat? What is it doing?
They could utilize this to control, say, trim pieces that are on the back of the boat, the little flaps that extend down below water level to trim the boat up to level. Perhaps for some of the more expensive boating yachts, perhaps tables that would rise out of the floor to give you a place to play cards or set your drink.
Right.
They could be raised and lowered with one of these power units.
So there's all kinds of like ancillary functions on the boat that don't have to do with propelling it across the water, it sounds like.
Exactly, yeah. Yes. Their boats are in the water to give you a good time.
Yeah. Well, anybody who enjoys boating, I'm sure would take advantage of a lot of those capabilities. I guess the other product that you mentioned was the Rolf valve, if I pronounced that correctly, and that is a directional control valve, if I heard you correct, right?
That is correct. It's what we refer to as a seated valve. Seated valves are, generally speaking, zero leak.
And seated means it's embedded in the manifold, or?
Well, we have a particular design of this Rolf valve. We've actually have it patented. The actuation and the integrated valve components are inside of the cylindrical portion of this ROLV valve. We are able to do much of the machining right in that valve body by turning it on a lathe, which makes it more efficient in machining process.
Okay.
We can very easy, relatively so, to make true concentric cuts in that body versus doing a rotating tool that would be more of a milling process. So we got the capability in the design to make more efficient flow paths in the valve body. And then the functional components are in that machined portion, the round portion of the valve, that sets onto a subplate that generally the standard would be an NG6 manifold interface or a basic threaded body. And if you're an OEM and you wanted your own specific unique seated valve, we could do a custom interface mounting to make that very unique to that particular OEM.
Yeah, it sounds like it's highly customizable to the specific needs of each application.
It certainly can be.
Yeah. And so the advantage, if I heard you right, is one of the advantages is the unique way in which it's manufactured, where you're doing the work inside the valve body itself.
Yes, a lot of the machining work that's done in the manufacturing is able to be done on a turning machine, which generally allows us to use high-speed tools, high-speed cutting, more accuracy than what you would uh, consistently have out of a square block,
Mm-hmm.
for example, that was machined.
So does that help you reduce the relative size of the valve, or?
It does somewhat, yes.
Mm-hmm.
The overall size of the valve, it cuts down on the overall weight, which is a benefit for mobile applications. Um,
Always, yeah.
Cuts down
Right.
somewhat on the size as compared to other comparable valves that can be a size constraint in mobile applications as well as industrial applications.
And so this valve would be good in any application where you need to direct the flow of the fluid to multiple actuation zones.
Yes, yeah, generally speaking, you would have usually one valve used per actuator or function.
Mm-hmm.
So if I've got a cylinder, it would require one of these roll valves. And if you had a 2 or 3 cylinders, you would have 2 or 3 valves in the circuit.
Yeah. So I'm curious, Doug, whether it's the Hycon or whether it's the Rolf valve, the environments or the applications that these products are helping to, deliver performance to, are there particular challenges in those market spaces or in those environments? Um, and what are they, I guess? What are you trying to, how do these products help deal with those challenges?
Well, and we have. We're looking at the Hycon power unit. Particular issue has been water in the fluids. So we've designed this unit to be sealed so that you cut down on the integration of water into the hydraulic fluid. Hydraulic fluid with water in it can be a distinct problem with electric motors
Yeah.
that are immersed in the reservoir, which allows the motor to run and actually cool itself by using the hydraulic oil that's inside of the reservoir. So we can't have moisture in that hydraulic oil, um, or else you'll cause trouble with the motor
Right.
wanting to run.
Yeah, they say oil and water don't mix, and that's certainly true in in hydraulic applications. It's pretty much a contaminant. Water is, right?
Yes. Um, Another challenge we need to overcome is excessive heat. Excessive heat will also break down the hydraulic fluid, which will lead to system failure. So with the Hycon unit, we have installed a temperature switch as standard in the unit so that you can have a output signal to shut off the unit if the temperature becomes excessive,
That sounds like
thus protecting your system.
that sounds like a real advantage and a real must-have.
It's certainly good to follow up with some of these small little features to give you a big bang in the end, and
Right.
that is a big benefit in the end.
And what about the Rolf valve? What are some of the advantages or the challenges that it helps overcome in the markets that product serves?
The Rolf valve can be used for circuits that allow the pump to actually be shut off and hold pressure so that you no longer have to run the pump continuously in order to maintain pressure, because other valves that are standard spool valve has leakage and we can't hold pressure. The Rolf valve, being a seated valve, allows the power unit to be shut off and maintain pressure in clamp circuits and other areas that the Rolf valve would be generally used in. So you need to hold a cylinder in a closed uh, position,
Mm-hmm.
or we need to hold a clamp in a closed or open position at any given time. See, during a machining process
Yeah.
or during a machining process, like on a lathe system or a tooling center.
Right. Yeah, you mentioned that product was used in a lot of machine tool and industrial applications. So we're I'm assuming like work holding And anything where you need that static force to hold something in place. Sounds like that's a really important piece.
Very much so.
Yeah.
You're exactly right.
Well, that's great. These two products, I'm sure, are just part of the overall portfolio that HAWE offers, and it sounds like there's a lot of advantages that they can give to a variety of different marketplaces. They are going to be exhibited at the HAWE booth at the IFPE trade show, as we've mentioned a few times. Have you been I'm assuming you've been to IFPE before, Doug, in your history?
Actually, this coming year will be my first time at the IFPE show.
Well, that's wonderful. Yeah, it's a can't miss event in so many ways. Well, then maybe speaking from more of a HAWE perspective, I was just curious on getting your take on why IFPE is such a great show. Why is it the right place for people to go who are looking for fluid power solutions?
Well, when it comes to fluid power industry, the IFPE has everything that you could think of and some more things that you haven't thought of. You're sure to see some new technology and learn about new solutions for extremely challenging applications. That's why we go.
And that's absolutely for sure, and a great way to end. So thank you so much, Doug. I appreciate your time on the podcast today. That is going to wrap things up for this episode of Fluid Power Forum. My thanks to d.hite again, who has been my guest. If you would like to connect with him, learn more about the products he talked about, the best way to do that is send him an email, and we'll put a link to his email address in the show notes for this episode. Again, to learn more about fluid power, your best bet is to attend that IFPE trade show. It's coming up in March of 23, Las Vegas, Nevada. For more information, visit ifpe.com. And remember, if you like our podcast, follow us on Twitter. We're at the NFPA. And please keep sharing those interesting and innovative uses of fluid power with our hashtag #OnlyFluidPowerCan. Fluid Power Forum is a podcast of the National Fluid Power Association. I'm your host, Eric Lanke, reminding you to join us next time in the forum.